This is one of the smoothest priming jobs I've ever done. Quite happy with this. One note in particular is that little dent in the floor. I'm going to have to fill that. And then just up here, there's a little speck of dust in the paint. I tried scratching it out, but that's going to need a really light sanding. Over here, that floor line is finally gone. I thought it would be. That's very nice. The dent over here doesn't matter, that's behind a corner wall, as is that as well. That strange crease right in there. Oh, that probably won't matter. Looks like there's a slight dent over here as well, but that will be out of range too. So yeah, the slightest, smallest amount of putty there, a sanding down, one more coat, and I think that'll be it. So I haven't done a lot here. I think since the last time I shot, I had put this little bit of putty down here, a little up there. There's a couple other small places like back here, but it's not really visible. And one of the previous times just recently, so I was having really big difficulty slotting some of these pieces into place, the wall parts onto the floor. So what I've done is take this rectangular file and simply put it into some of the slots and filed away some of the space to help things fit. I've still got to do that on one more piece here. This wall segment doesn't fit quite as well as I'd really like it to, so I'm going to loosen that up. This was really the big one. And one thing that's kind of bothering me on this, let's see if I can get this focused here. So you can probably see here that, I mean, there's an obvious seam. The piece ends here, so I created the floor down there to give it some depth. One other thing I just realized that the ladder rungs here stop right there, so I'm going to need to scratch build at least one or two more to go further down and make it look like there's a floor down there. But the thing that really bugs me about this piece is this corner here, the tab that goes into the floor just simply doesn't want to disappear. I've got a little putty filling to do on the underseam there, but what I'm thinking about doing is cutting this tab off entirely and then just simply putting the floor so I thought that black paint there was actually a gap, but it's not. It's a piece. But what I'm thinking about doing there is cutting that entire tab off and just putting the piece just slightly forward of the hole to eliminate all traces of the fact that there's a tab and slot there, because it really looks, even pressing down that hard, it just looks like it's sitting on top, like it's a piece of something else. Whereas this here, that sits flush with the floor and looks great. That looks like a wall sitting on a floor. But this looks like a piece sitting on top of another piece. This corner here isn't so great either. And that one doesn't quite work as well either. And it looks like this wall is actually going on top of. That's kind of surprised this doorway here sits on top of that seam, unless it's supposed to be slightly further back, and it looks like it is. So the part is slightly deformed, and it's now sitting on top of the circle rather than sitting just behind it where the mark is. So I'm going to have to pay attention to that when I glue that down. So filing out this slot right there might help out to get this into the floor a little better. Moving this wall back will set this area onto the floor better. Then we'll see what the file does on this piece here. So let me pull these parts apart, but otherwise they're looking good. This wall here will get hidden sort of by this guy, by the front piece basically. It looks like that's sitting just slightly above the floor, so I don't know if I'll cut the back slots off or we'll see how that goes. But I do want these pieces sitting against the floor as best they can, because nothing says model like parts sitting next to each other rather than looking like they're a part of themselves and each other. So let me pause and we'll get back to the filing. Now, the first thing I'll say about filing is you got to be freaking careful. The same with scribing. I was pushing a little too hard here, the file slipped and it put this huge gouge right across there. I was not happy, so that's going to have to be sanded down somewhat severely basically. But over here, this is the area that I was looking at. The camera doesn't autofocus, unfortunately. I can't quite tell if it's in focus or not. I'm hoping it is. And of course, doing this over my bare hand is probably not the smartest idea. If you need to make rectangular windows, this is a great way to go too. You drill 2 starter holes, one at each side, kind of razor blade away the middle, and get a file going. That should be pretty good. I'd rather have these a little loose than too tight, but really, perfect fit is the ideal. There's a little paint going on up top there. There we go. One other problem with doing this is that you can also chip up the paint and the surface immediately around a tab, such as right here. The back side doesn't matter, there's a part going on top of that, but the front side, that's definitely critical. So when I did go through, and apparently I didn't do this one, so it's not always a simple matter of just sticking the file in there. This technique has been working for me so far fairly well. The fit on this wall wasn't too bad, so I wasn't too worried about it, but may as well loosen it up a little because there's still one more coat primer coming. Sorry about the focus there.